on the street. Brought to you by First Money, the mobile money service from First Bank.
These hands tell a story. All that glitters is not gold. These are the cogs in the machine, the victims of Burkina Faso's lucrative gold rush. Almost 20,000 children work in mines across the country. More than 80% of them have never been to school.
I started working here when I was 13 because we had no food in the family. I've never been to school, and everything I've earned in the time I've been here, I sent back to my family.
60% of the 17 million people living in Burkina Faso are under 25 years old. An estimated 700,000 adolescents and youngsters work in the mining industry. Gold is the main export, providing 20% of the country's GDP. In just a quarter century, one of the world's poorest countries has transformed itself into Africa's fourth largest producer of gold. Foreign investors are flocking. Job creation has boomed. But the global demand for natural resources comes at a high price.
The only reason you're still alive is because you haven't told anyone.
The Hollywood film Blood Diamond unearthed the dirt behind Sierra Leone's gems. Similarly, gold fever is having a severe impact on child exploitation. Every day, children risk their lives with dreams of finding a hole that overflows with the metal, which will pull them out of poverty. Aside from the immediate risks, a lost grip means a 40-foot plunge. There are also long-term health problems caused by back-breaking manual labor and exposure to toxic chemicals. And in the Central African Republic, there are constant attacks from rebels threatening to take over the mines.
With this crisis, we hardly work. People often come to shoot us, and we are forced to flee into the bush.
According to UNICEF, 1 in 3 children in sub-Saharan Africa is engaged in child labor. Among them, millions suffer in its worst forms, including child soldiering, sexual exploitation, drug trafficking, and other illicit activities. Eradicating child labor is particularly difficult because often entire families work together to maximize profits. Ivory Coast is the world's top cocoa producer. Some residents in believe that children working the plantations shouldn't be regarded as forced laborers.
Imagine I'm a farmer and I couldn't afford to send my child to school. I'm not exploiting him if I send him to the fields.
In Burkina Faso at least, there may be light at the end of the tunnel.
I left the mines to come here and to get trained, and I'm happy. The work at the mines was very hard, but here I've gained knowledge that will help me in the future.
The government, in partnership with UNICEF and Terre de Home, is providing vocational training to youth. It isn't a replacement for lost education, but a way out of the mines. Since the project began in 2009, more than 200 children have been withdrawn from Gorol Kaji mine alone. One of the biggest prizes child laborers pay is being deprived of an education.
Wow, yes, wow.
In Kenya, a group of musicians, Sauti Sol, are using their voices to effect change for the youth. To celebrate the annual Day of the African Child, Sauti Sol's Soma Soma Foundation joined forces with Start a Library to encourage literacy.
You find that a lot of the places where child labor is rampant, education is not entrenched. And we believe as at a library that if we show the parents that education and also books can open doors for their children.
Guys are starting to understand that there's a thin line between kids helping their parents and is an act, what you can call child labor. There's a kid who had a story, a really passionate one, because he used to go to school after school. He used to go get cattle, then bring it to the house and milk it, and then study for his exams. No electricity whatsoever. You see, that's child labor.
Each year, on June the 12th, the World Day Against Child Labor highlights the plight of young workers. A group of artists from the Ivory Coast are using the power of song to advocate against the problem. The global number of children in child labor has declined by 1/3 since the year 2000, but there is still work to be done, and eliminating the problem goes hand in hand with implementing the right to education for all children.
The United Nations envoy, Hamad Halendawi, has concluded a 2-day visit to Somalia, during which he reaffirmed the commitment of the United Nations to supporting the Somali youth. During the visit, he met with high-level government officials and different youth groups. Statistics from the United Nations indicate that more than 2/3 of the Somali population is below the age of 30. However, because of the 25-year conflict, young Somalis suffer from high-level illiteracy, unemployment, poverty, and are under constant threat of recruitment by military groups. During discussions with various youth groups, Halendawi encouraged them to aspire for better opportunities.
Of course, the challenges are daunting. Looking ahead, we could see the unemployment figures, and also seeing, the challenges for young Somalis and getting better opportunities for education, health, and the purpose of this visit is to reiterate the UN's commitment to work with the government and the people of Somalia towards the betterment of young people.
Somalia's Minister of Youth and Sports, Dr. Khalid Omar Ali, stressed that the state recognizes the importance of the youth as critical resources for the transformation of Somalia. He also noted that the visit from the envoy is a major milestone which highlights the expansive efforts of the government to support its young men and women.
The Youth Ministry invited the UN Youth Envoy to Somalia, and we have been working on this invitation for a long time with the support of the UN Secretary General's Office for the development of the youth in Somalia and other UN bodies. As you well know, this time we are working with the youth to have their voices heard and even reach the international community.
The UNDP Human Development Report of 2012 estimates that 67% of the youth in Somalia have one of the lowest school enrollment rates in the world, with only 4 out of 10 children in school. The joint efforts of the United Nations, the federal government of Somalia, and other donors is hoping to change this trend and work towards a better future for the younger generation. Hamad Halendawi was appointed Youth Envoy in January 2013 as part of the deliberate decision by the UN Secretary General to work with and for young people as one of his top priorities.
This one a good one. A good one, 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 this one, a good one. You guys, Punet, Colo, the I'll see you back in the day.
Yo, what's up, Africa? This your boy Double, aka Punet. Yo, what to do, Africa? It's your boy Frasha Kamakay, and this is P Unit. The music that we do is it's called Ganga music. It's more hip hop. We fuse it with some Afro sound, and so it's Ganga music, which is more like hip hop, but fused with everything. We fuse it with with everything. Afro, house. Genge means masses, so you do music for the masses, for the people. We talk about things that are happening in the society. You know, we talk about party, because we can't just talk about cycling. So we talk about everything. So we work from the ghettos and don't know what poverty is. So we don't want to die poor. So we're running away from poverty in music. Most memorable for me will be the last song that we did in Cape Town. I think that the video industry in South Africa is a bit different from what we're normally used to. So it was more organized, you know, the models were, you know, everything was just on point.
I'll give you my love, let me give you love. I'll give you my love, let me give you some.
Most memorable international stage performance when we were nominated for MTV in 2010. Yeah. And we shared stage with the likes of Rick Ross, you know, EVE. So it was so amazing that we all connected. We talked about how music is, how they're doing. So that was for me. I think it's the same thing, right? Also getting all African acts together, like the big names and sharing the same stage with people. I think that was very memorable. Yeah. My most memorable collabo is You Guy, because again, as I said, the energy was there, and we did a song with our main man Kolo, you know, so when we were in Sudan, and we just fused it very well, and it didn't even take time, and we all enjoyed it. So for me, You Guy.
What's really cracking like it age that then I can you and me meeting.
The script for You Guy was basically we were talking about an African woman and how they look and how they want to show off. So we just praising our babies. That's it. Oh, so Lazima was between lines of for Lazima. It was our first song. As if you can see even the credits, you know, by then we didn't have the name PU. We had individual names, Gabu, Frasha, Bonnet. And Lazima basically means when I ask a woman for us to go out, doesn't mean I want to sleep with them. No, we don't have to do it. We can just go chill out, you know, and just have a good time. That's basically about it. Kushoto Kulia was one of our collaborations with Godfather himself, Nalini. Kushoto Kulia was just basically playing one play, you know, trying to get a contrast of things, you know, the way we are coin with both sides. You know, just trying to get situations with different sides. Yeah, when we collabo came up with, we hooked up with Alicious and Alicious, delicious. When we met up with her and we wanted to do a song. And so what we actually wanted to do was a Zouk kind of rhythm song. And so when we went to the studio, everything changed, and we decided, you know, because she has this composition black, and she was telling us, you know, we can actually, you know, move from to Gala, and we tried it, and it works really well. Perfect gentleman for me is a man who takes care of his family, a man who respects women, and he's a man who makes a woman laugh. You don't have to do a lot. To me, a perfect gentleman would be me. I'm a gentleman. The song itself was, you know, what was happening and what is happening right now in Africa is that there's a lot of randomness, because people have gone away from, you know, treating the ladies where all you have to do is get going to Instagram, see a page, like, next your Tapians and a double tap in India, you know, it's gone back to, it's ended, the night has ended within one day. And so what we wanted to bring back was the gentleman.
Introducing Flash of the Gentleman, Madam Wanani Penda, oh yeah, I'm a ladies man.
We have a few collaborations with radio and music from Uganda, artists from Nigeria. We've done a lot of things, we've done different things that, you know, not what people expect from us. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm a gentleman.
Yo, what's up, Africa? This your boy Gabu, aka Punit. Yo, what's up? This is Frasha Punit.